Hey, I'm Justin, welcome to the channel. Today I'm talking all about the Omnipod 5 system. I've been using it for a week now. It's not the first automated system I've used. I've used open source apps like DIY Loop and IAPS Trio, but this is the first time I'm getting on an automated system that is FDA cleared. And I've got to say, I'm pretty surprised by it. Just in this first week, I've been at 94% in range. It's been incredible so far, but there also are some caveats to that, which I'll get into. Today, I'm gonna show you everything from what I've been doing working out, all the foods I've been eating and how it's performed with those foods. I've been using the Omnipod 5 iPhone app. It's currently in limited market release. So a lot of the screens you'll be seeing in this video are from that app. If you're new to the channel, on here I talk all things diabetes tech, news, and management. I have a podcast that comes out on Mondays where I interview people about the latest and greatest. I also do some solo episodes. And I've got videos coming out on Fridays like this where I talk about my experience using technology or get into the news. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and give this video a like if you enjoy it. And while you're watching this video, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will try my best to answer them there or include that information in future content. Keep in mind that I work with Omnipod on sponsored content, but that has had no effect on this video or my opinions. Everything comes right from here and my own experience. And this is not medical advice. This is for educational purposes only. Be sure to consult with your physician before making changes to your healthcare. All right, let's get into it. The first thing I had to do before I got started on the Omnipod 5 system is get back on the Dexcom G6. And the reason for that right now is that the iPhone app only works with Dexcom G6, but as of this week, Dexcom G7 works with either Android or the PDM as long as you have version 3.0.1. The way you know you have pods that work with your system is by looking at the box. It says if it works with the Dexcom G6 or G7. Like I said earlier, I am using the Omnipod iPhone app, so it is right on my phone. I actually have to use Face ID to open it, which is so cool. And this is what it looks like. It is very sleek looking. I'm very excited for everyone to get their hands on it who uses an iPhone. If you're on Android, you may already be using a form of the app on your phone that looks like the PDM. The iPhone app has been rebuilt and redesigned, and I'm very happy with it. I'm not gonna go into a deep dive of the app right now. I'm gonna have a full video coming out in the next couple weeks of that, which I'll put in the show notes. But a couple things that I like right now are dark mode. As soon as my phone switches over to dark mode at the end of the night, so does the app, and it switches all the screens to like a black background, which is so much easier on the eyes when I open up the app in bed and I just wanna look at some stuff before sleeping. It's a way more comfortable experience. I also love that from the home screen of the app, I can just put it sideways and that I will have all of my information right on screen. I can see all of the automations at the bottom. I can see the areas where I've bolused. I can see my blood sugars, and I can also change the times that I want to see like the ranges from. There is an Android app. A lot of people have been using it. It has a similar interface to the PDM. I'm very happy with the iPhone app, and you'll be learning a lot more about it soon on here. I also have some videos on social media which you can watch through my handle diabet_tech. I've been using this system for a week now, and I am very impressed with the results I've gotten. In fact, I was very nervous getting onto it because I was coming from open source where you have a lot more control over your system and your settings, and especially with workouts, you have more customization features. But Omnipod 5 has been doing the job very well. One great example for that is with my breakfast. So one of my breakfasts that I tend to eat pretty routinely is like a Siggy yogurt that's 13 grams of carbs with granola that's about 15 grams of carbs, and a cold brew with oat milk that's about 18 grams of carbs. So altogether that comes to about 50 grams of carbs. I tend to log that, as a pre-bolus, like 15 minutes before I eat. And I did it for Omnipod 5, and I've done it at least 3 times I've eaten this breakfast, and it controlled my levels so freaking well. I barely spiked, and it brought me right back into range. On my open source apps, whether it was DIY Loop or IAPS, I didn't have that experience often. I had a very big spike and then did come back down, but Omnipod 5 did a better job here getting me back into range and not spiking too high. Now, this of course could be because my settings were off on the open source apps. I think that that's probably likely because those algorithms are fantastic. But I guess what this says is that there's something nice about the Omnipod 5 system and the ability for my educator to just kind of figure out my settings based off of my previous settings, and then just get me on this FDA cleared system and have it do well. Now for this first week, I didn't want to go crazy with foods. I didn't want to have foods like burgers or French fries or pizza because that's where things just in diabetes world get more annoying and glucose levels can kind of spike and then stay there for a long time. I will get there. So that is one caveat to my results, which have been phenomenal. I think in the next couple weeks, I'll start introducing that and I'll be able to kind of explain to you what that experience was like. But there are a couple ways that I've indulged and the system still managed me well. One was I went to the movie theater a couple days ago and I got a big tub of popcorn and I logged about 75 grams of carbs for that because I probably was gonna eat about half the bucket. And it is like 75 grams of carbs. I sometimes will kind of go a little higher than I want to and then eventually come down. But my goodness, this app just did a phenomenal job at keeping me in line. You know, popcorn is something that hits your blood sugar very quickly. It is corn, it is like sugar. It hits very fast and I didn't spike. Now, another experience I had yesterday was I was out on a walk. I had actually given myself too much insulin for a meal prior, so I was going low. And I was probably about 60 milligrams per deciliter with an arrow going down, and I needed a low snack, and I didn't have one. Always carry low snacks. So I saw an ice cream truck. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get some ice cream. So I get the ice cream and I go to log the carbs for my ice cream. And the app has some sort of safety feature where you can't log carbs for food you're eating when you're having a low, which was surprising to me because on open source platforms, I have been able to do that. The only way I could take insulin was by manually putting in insulin. I just put in like 5 units, but I guess there was this weird feeling of, is the algorithm gonna do an okay job? It doesn't know how many carbs I've had. It wound up doing very well. The ice cream brought me back up. I gave 5 units, which was probably a little less than I needed for the ice cream, but the ice cream was able to bring me up, and then the 5 units that I put in were able to bring me back down and in line. The system surprised me here. These are the moments when you have diabetes and things are going wrong and you have to kind of just adapt, and I did, and then the system adapted to me. And that is one of the most freeing experiences with systems like these. There are a few mechanics to the Omnipod 5 system that I'm getting used to, some good, some bad. Let's start with a good one. The fact that the pod and the CGM talk to each other, and that's where all the algorithm happens, all the automations. So what this means is that you can be away from your phone and automation is still happening. What it also means is if your phone isn't connected to your CGM, there's some sort of error, communication error, your CGM could still be talking to the pump. In fact, I had that happen where my Dexcom app said that there was no connection, and then I went over to my Omnipod app, and the Omnipod app had the readings. I've also had to get used to the alerts on this system because if you're having an urgent low soon, you'll get 2 alerts on your phone from the Dexcom G7 app and the Omnipod app. And you'll even get beeps from the pod, which I didn't get in open source, but it hasn't annoyed me too much, but it is a little much. And I could see if you're having these alerts often that it could lead to burnout. The good thing is that if you leave your phone, I'm thinking at the beach, you leave your phone behind, you go on a walk on the water, which is something I haven't really felt comfortable doing on open source. You have the algorithm running, and then if you do have a low or an urgent low, you will get the alert on the pod, and then you can take action. So that's very comforting to me. Okay, a couple more things. There were two areas where I wanted to see how the system would perform. The first one was swimming. So like I said earlier, is you can leave your phone behind and the algorithm will do its thing. But I wanted to understand how it would perform underwater, because Bluetooth does not work well. And on my open source platforms, I found that my devices, when I was submerged, weren't connecting to my phone over Bluetooth. But the proximity being so close of the sensor and the pod, maybe it would be fine. Well, unfortunately, Bluetooth is really bad underwater because these two devices were unable to speak to each other underwater. I had to get out of the water and then eventually they connected and the automation could begin. One way I could navigate that in the future is by just like occasionally every like 10 minutes sitting out of the water or kind of putting both of them on my arm, whatever it is, just having both of them out of the water for a moment so that they can reconnect, do a little automation, and then I can put them underwater. Maybe that's something I'll do in the future. The other area was workouts. This is an area where a lot of people struggle, and being on a new system, I think I was the most anxious about this because it is so easy to have a low blood sugar from workouts. And on the Omnipod 5 system, there is one feature available. It's called Activity Feature, where it sets your target glucose range to 150 milligrams per deciliter. I find that that's not enough for high cardio workouts. Maybe for a light workout, for weightlifting, that would be fine. But for me, running 10 miles per hour for 30 minutes or on and off, like going really fast, that won't cut it. I will go low. And I don't want to have to do the science of how much do I have to eat prior to my workout, because also I don't think as people with type 1 diabetes that we should have to eat when we don't want to, unless we're having a low, right? But I don't want to have to eat before a workout to balance things out. What my educator had me do was I go into manual mode for 1 hour before my workout, and I set my basal rate to 50% less basal. So I will be getting 50% less insulin leading up to my workout. And then I keep that on for the duration of my workout. When I'm done working out, I'll go back into automated mode and then it will do its thing. Now, what I liked about open source platforms is I was able to just turn on an override that changed my target range and my basal insulin and stay in auto mode. It's unfortunate that with Omnipod 5, and I believe other automated systems out there that are FDA cleared, that you can't change your basal and your target range and remain in an automation mode. That's one area I really want to see improved on these systems. That is everything I have for you right now. I know that was a lot, but I know a lot more will come. I've been taking notes every day in every experience, and I want to tell that to you. So I'm planning a bunch more content. I'm going to have a first impressions of the iPhone app. I will eventually review it when the full app comes out. I'm going to review the Omnipod 5 system. I'm also going to do a long podcast episode where I tell you everything I've experienced with Omnipod 5 on the podcast. So make sure you follow the podcast on audio platforms or here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe because I've got more videos, and give this video a like if you enjoy it. Most importantly, comment below with your experience on Omnipod 5 so far, and with any questions you may have for me that you want me to include in future content. I will do my best to either answer it in the comments or I will put it in the video. That's all I've got for you now. I'm Justin, and I'll tech you later.